Yang Yi naturally had to flee. He was up against then 10 Exalt Realm experts, and most of them were at the 5th rank of the Exalt Realm or above. Moreover, they were all assassins. So, did he have any other choice? Yang Yi didn't have to guess to know that it was definitely Luo Jun who dispatched these assassins. But he hadn't imagined that the clan would actually participate as well. Did he feel hatred? He did in the very beginning. After all, there were some feelings between him and Bairu. So, he naturally felt uncomfortable when she assisted Luo Jun to kill him and dispatched assassins for his head. However, he quickly got over it. And Bairu couldn't be blamed for her actions because it was him, Yang Yi, who said that they would be enemies when they met next. Since they were enemies, then wasn't it very normal for her to want him dead? This incident caused that bit of feelings he had for Bairu to vanish from his heart. Moreover, he clearly understood that they were enemies now. The sword control technique enhanced by the 9th Hell Swordwings and Astride's talisman allowed Xianxia's speed to arrive at an extremely terrifying extent. So, those Exalt Realm assassins were still unable to catch up to him even if they tore space apart. Of course, Yang Yi hadn't lost them completely because he sensed them not too far behind him. However, he knew that they would catch up sooner or later if they continued for a long. If he didn't possess extreme-grade energy stones to incessantly recover his profound energy, then they would have caught up to him a very long time ago. Even then, he was unable to persist for long. After all, the gap between their cultivations was too huge, and extreme-grade energy stones weren't all-powerful treasures. After pondering deeply for a moment, Yang Yi glanced at Lu Jianyao, who laid in his embrace and spoke in a low voice. How far are we from the ocean of anarchy? He originally had no intention of saving her. After all, he wasn't even able to protect himself. However, he had no choice but to save her when he thought of her identity. He was still in cooperation with the city governor's estate, so if he were to refuse to save her and allowed them to fall into the enemy's hands, then it might really push the city governor's estate to Luo Jun's side. So, this woman absolutely couldn't fall into the hands of the enemy. At this moment, Lu Jianyao was still slightly stunned. Never had she imagined that while everything seemed to be fine and well, those 2 uncles of hers would have perished in the blink of an eye. Moreover, they were even being pursued by a group of Exalt Realm assassins. It'll take half a day more based on your current speed, said Lu Jianyao. Half a day. Yang Yi frowned because he couldn't hold on for half a day of time. He felt that their pursuers were getting closer and closer. Based on the current circumstances, they would catch up within 2 hours at most. Right at this moment, Lu Jianyao suddenly said, "Flee on your own." Yang Yi was stunned and glanced at her with slight surprise. She said, "They won't kill me, and they'll use me to threaten my father instead. So I won't die. But if we flee together, then both of us will die." You're absolutely right, but have you thought about how your father would fall under the control of another because of that? In other words, the city governor's estate will become a slave in someone else's hands. At that time, do you think Luo Jun would let you go? He wouldn't. He will keep you under even stricter watch and use you to threaten your father. In other words, you'll be a prisoner for eternity, and your father would become someone else's goon because of you. Understand? Said Yang Yi. Lu Jianyao fell silent for a short while before she raised her head to glance at Yang Yi before she said, "You only saved me because you're afraid the city governor's estate would side with Luo Jun, right?" Yang Yi said indifferently, "Would you believe me if I said that I did it because I liked you?" Lu Jianyao glanced at him, and then she fell silent. An hour later, the gap between them was growing closer and closer, while Yang Ye's brows were knit together even more tightly. Presently, he'd brought his speed up to its limits, but he was still unable to struggle free of their pursuit. This made him feel very helpless. His cultivation was too low in the end. If he was at the Exalt Realm, then not to mention escaping their pursuit, it was even possible for him to annihilate them. However, he was only a spirit realm profounder right now. So while he possessed numerous Tao artifacts, he wasn't able to fully utilize their might. He wished he could utilize that secret technique again, but the sword spirit didn't allow it, because she said that he wouldn't just lose a few levels of cultivation if he utilized it again. It was very likely to cause him to be unable to step foot into the monarch realm for eternity or even perish on the spot. Every single secret technique has its side effects, and this secret technique from the sword spirit was no exception. So, Yang Yi didn't dare utilize it rashly unless he arrived at a moment of life and death. Even though he felt that the sword spirit might be just scaring him, he didn't want to bet with his future on the line. Lu Jianyao gazed at Yang Yi while lying in his arms. Yang Yi couldn't be said to be handsome, but it was undeniable that he was very attractive. Or it should be said that strong men were attractive. Yang Yi was merely at the spirit realm yet could kill Exalt Realm experts, and he could even escape from 10 Exalt Realm assassins. Moreover, Yang Yi, who was merely a spirit realm profounder, displayed no fear when facing 10 Exalt Realm experts. Just this courage alone was something that very few spirit realm profounders could compare to. As for her, she wasn't able to accomplish it, because she was very clearly aware of the gap between the Exalt Realm and Spirit Realm. It was exactly the reason why she felt slight admiration towards Yang Yi right now. However, Yang Yi was truly a bit too rude, because while she didn't know if Yang Yi had done it on purpose or not, Yang Yi's hands were on her, but right now, she'd struggled to move her body a few times, but it merely made Yang Yi hold her even more tightly. Meanwhile, she wanted to let him know about it, but she was truly unable to bring herself to say it. So, she had no choice but to leave herself at Yang Yi's mercy. Right at this moment, Yang Yi was suddenly delighted because he saw a mountain range in the distance. He was like a moving target in the air, and it was truly too easy for them to find him like this. However, if he were to enter a dense forest, then it wouldn't be so easy for them to capture him once he utilized the tiny vortex to conceal his aura. It was even to the extent that he could kill them instead. He acted as soon as he thought of this. Yang Ye's figure flashed and transformed into a ray of light that shot into the mountain range. As soon as he descended to the ground, Yang Ye's figure flashed and vanished on the spot. 10 black-clothed figures arrived at the same spot Yang Yi stood on just now in less than 10 breaths of time after he vanished from there. One of them said, "Let's split up." Hong suddenly said, "No." The other black-clothed figures gazed at Hong with a puzzled expression. Hong said, "He's very strong and able to conceal his aura. It's very likely that we would provide him an opportunity to take advantage of if we were to split up." In the end, she was clearly aware of Yang Ye's ability. After all, she'd been with him for a period of time, and that was exactly the reason why Hong didn't dare underestimate him. Because Yang Ye's strength was really sufficient to kill Exalt Realm experts. An opportunity to take advantage of? One of the black-clothed figures laughed coldly and said, "He's just a spirit realm profounder. Even though he's much stronger than an ordinary spirit realm profounder and possesses a speed that isn't inferior to Exalt Realm experts, aren't you speaking too highly of him and looking down on us by saying that he can kill us?" All of them were assassins, and they were Exalt Realm assassins. So, they felt that it was an insult to say that a spirit realm profounder could kill them instead. That was the reason why the black-clothed figure's tone had become cold and blunt as he finished speaking. Hong frowned, and she felt quite helpless in her heart. There were 10 assassins here. 5 of them were from the Yin clan, but the other 5 had been dispatched by Luo Jun and didn't take orders from her at all. Hong still wanted to say something, but the other 5 Exalt Realm assassins had vanished on the spot and dispersed towards the surroundings. Hong shook her head when she saw this, and then she said, "We'll stay together. If we encounter Yang Yi." Hong hesitated for a moment when she spoke up to hear, and then she said, "Don't hold back and kill him without mercy." Yang Yi didn't continue his flight when he entered the boundless dense forest, and he found a place to conceal himself and Lu Jianyao instead. He'd chosen a naturally formed pit in the ground to hide. The pit wasn't really large, and it should be called small, and it was just enough for 2 people. It was even to the extent that they were both pressed closely against each other upon entering the pit, and it made them fall into a rather embarrassing state. It was especially so for Lu Jianyao. Her entire face was covered in an uncomfortable expression, and she even felt that Yang Yi might have done this on purpose. At this moment, Yang Yi naturally didn't think too much about this. There were 10 Exalt Realm experts pursuing him, so how could he possibly have the time to think about all of that? He wasn't someone that allowed his lower body to control his actions. He wanted to kill his pursuers, but it wasn't a very realistic thought, because they were all Exalt Realm experts. So he had to kill them in a single strike, and it had to be when one of them was all alone. Because if there were two there, then the others would be able to rush over by the time he annihilated to the two of them. After all, Exalt Realm experts could tear space open and teleport through it. Besides that, he had a burden by his side as well. So, the current situation didn't look good at all. Yang Yi lowered his head to gaze at Lu Jianyao while he felt quite helpless in his heart. If this woman wasn't here, then the pressure he suffered would be comparatively lighter. However, he couldn't act freely while she was by his side. The thing he felt most helpless about was that he couldn't just abandon her. It wasn't because he was reluctant to do so, but he really couldn't. Luo Jun had numerous supporters right now. So, if the city governor's estate were to lean over to his side, then the southern territory would be in a worse situation. Thus, he couldn't allow her to fall into Luo Jun's hands. No matter what. Suddenly, Yang Ye's expression changed, and his hands around Lu Jianyao couldn't help but tighten their embrace on her. Lu Jianyao's face flushed red, but she seemed to have noticed something. So she immediately glared at Yang Yi with anger and embarrassment, yet didn't say anything. Two black-clothed figures appeared near their hiding spot. Strange, the Sword Emperor's aura actually vanished completely, said one of the black-clothed figures. His strength is extraordinary indeed. Even those little bastards at the Azura camp are probably unable to compare to him. No wonder the mortal emperor redeployed us from the central territory to deal with him. I was quite puzzled in the beginning because it was naturally unnecessary for us to be dispatched to kill a spirit realm profounder. Now, it would seem like the mortal emperor's decision was correct. Ordinary Exalt Realm profounders would really be unable to kill him, said the other black-clothed figure. He's only at the spirit realm now, yet already possesses such strength. If he's allowed to attain the Exalt Realm, then even we would probably be helpless against him. So he must be eliminated. Otherwise, he'll definitely become a great enemy to the mortal emperor. You're right. He shouldn't have gone far. We are probably still able to catch up. Let's go. Their figures flashed and vanished on the spot. Yang Yi frowned within the pit, and his expression hadn't eased up at all. Lu Jianyao was about to speak when she heard them leave, but Yang Ye's expression changed violently. He pressed his lips down onto hers while she watched with an astounded expression, and it made her swallow the words she was about to speak. Lu Jianyao's mind was completely blank, and she stared at Yang Yi with disbelief. On the other hand, Yang Yi was looking at her as well. However, his eyes were filled with rage instead. Lu Jianyao wanted to resist, but Yang Yi held tightly onto her to the point she couldn't even move, and she had no choice but to let Yang Yi kiss her. A short while later, and just when Lu Jianyao intended to fight desperately against Yang Yi, the voices of those two black-clothed figures suddenly resounded here again. Looks like he isn't here. That's strange. Could he have evaporated into thin air? We must kill him no matter what. Let's split up and search for him. The two of them vanished again. Yang Yi moved his lips away from Lu Jianyao's lips, and then he glanced coldly at her. Earlier, she'd almost spoiled everything. She's really useless at everything but great at spoiling things. Sorry. At this moment, Lu Jianyao was slightly aggrieved. It was she who'd been taken advantage of, yet it was her who apologized as well. She knew that if Yang Yi hadn't stopped her just now, then both of them would definitely be finished right now. It was especially so for her, because Yang Yi might be able to escape, but she would definitely be captured by them. Yang Yi held Lu Jianyao in his arms as he flashed onto the ground, and then he pondered deeply for a moment before he said, Miss Lu, you are clearly aware of the current situation we face. Just as you've said, both of us will be unable to escape if I continue bringing you along. However, truthfully speaking, I'm unable to abandon you as well. After all, your father and I can be said to be cooperating with each other. Go on. Tell me what I need to do, said Lu Jianyao. She knew that Yang Yi definitely had a way. You don't have to do anything. I just have to make Miss Lu suffer a little injustice for some time. Yang Yi waved his right hand, and then the ancient sheath appeared here. He said, "It has a space of its own within it, and it can hide living people. I hope Miss Lu will be able to stay in there for the time being. Do I have a choice?" Lu Jianyao glanced at Yang Yi, while a complicated expression flashed through her eyes. "You don't." Yang Yi restrained his smile, and then a strand of light flashed from within the ancient sheath before Lu Jianyao was taken into it by the sword spirit. After this burden of his, Lu Jianyao was gone. Yang Yi unconsciously felt much more relaxed. Actually, he should have placed her within the ancient sheath a long time ago, but he was afraid that she would refuse. If she did and resisted, then it would undoubtedly spoil everything while they were in a situation like the one that they just overcame. If he were to still take her along while they were in such a situation, then just as she said, they would be finished. So, he intended to force her into the ancient sheath even if she refused. Fortunately, she cooperated with him, otherwise it would probably cause even more trouble for him. Yang Yi flipped his palm, and then the blue sword chest appeared on his face, and then Void Flash appeared in his grasp with another flip of his palm. However, as if he felt that wasn't enough, Yang Yi withdrew a bunch of talismans, and just slapped all of them onto himself while disregarding exactly what type of talismans they were. Once he was done, Yang Yi withdrew the immortal binding rope and coiled it around his arm. He was facing elite Exalt Realm assassins this time, so he didn't dare act carelessly at all, because the slightest mistake might cause him to be besieged by numerous enemies. Once they locked him in combat, then it would be extremely difficult for him to escape once more. They weren't stupid, so how could they possibly give him another chance to flee? Thus, he had to kill them immediately if he were to attack, otherwise, he would open himself up to all sorts of potential threats. Once he fully prepared himself, Yang Ye's figure flashed and vanished on the spot, the central territory, and Bairu gazed at the black-clothed woman, her aunt, who stood before her in this room, and she asked in a low voice, "Why?" Only after they arrived at the central territory did she realize that some assassins of the N clan had left the clan and their whereabouts were unknown, and only after she investigated it did she find out that they'd actually gone to assassinate Yang Yi. Moreover, it was her aunt who gave the order. "I approved of the union between you two in the past, but it's utterly impossible for anything to happen between the two of you now. The mortal emperor has risen, and his footsteps to unite the continent can't be stopped. Yet he has enmity with the mortal emperor. So, the entire N clan will definitely have to go against the mortal emperor if the two of you were to get together. If that happens, then the southern N clan would be finished. Thus, regardless of whether it's for you or the N clan, he still must die," said the black-clothed woman. And Bairu shook her head and said, "Aunt, do you know that with his character? He'll definitely hate our N clan to the extreme because of your action. With his character, he's capable of doing anything once he goes mad with rage. Not only have your actions brought no benefit to the N clan, it'll even create a formidable enemy for our N clan. We're already enemies with him now, aren't we?" said the black-clothed woman. And Bairu said, "It's not the same. Before this happened, perhaps he would still feel displeased that we've sided with Luo Jun, but he would be understanding about it, because we just had differing standpoints. Yet now, we've taken the initiative to kill him, and it's equivalent to tell him that we're really mortal enemies with him and that we've truly gone over to Luo Jun's side. Once he thinks like that, then our N clan will definitely suffer his unbridled revenge in the future. At this moment, Monarch Realm experts can't act against him, and very few amongst the Exalt Realm are capable of killing him. Understand? He's only at the Spirit Realm," said the black-clothed woman. And Bairu shook her head and said, "The Flower Palace suffered such consequences because they had similar thoughts like you, Aunt. Even though he's only a Spirit Realm profounder, he's related to the interests of numerous powers. Not to mention any other powers, just the Grand Qin Empire, the Dark Beast Empire, the Sword Sect, the Shao Clan, and the Demon Emperor of the Demon Territory will all stand on his side. In short, once all of these forces truly join forces, then even the exalted Han Empire wouldn't dare underestimate them at all." When she spoke up to this point, and Bairu paused for a moment and said, "There's one more thing. He's the Sword Emperor. I presume you're aware of the natural talent he possesses. Once he's allowed to mature, then even the mortal emperor would probably have to fear him. Even if it has been 10,000 years, the exalted Han Empire should have not forgotten the might of the Sword Sect's founding ancestor. But didn't he say that we're mortal enemies? Said the black-clothed woman. Bairu said, even though he spoke in that way, I firmly believe that he would only target Luo Jun. But now, our clan has dispatched assassins to pursue and kill him, so he won't just target Luo Jun. When she spoke up to hear, Bairu laughed bitterly and said, once he goes berserk and disregards everything, then our clan will definitely suffer heavy losses. Aunt, your actions are undoubtedly like helping Luo Jun share some hatred and enmity. There are 10 Exalt Realm assassins after him. Moreover, 3 of them are at the 5th rank while 2 more are at the 6th rank. How could he possibly escape when facing such a force? Said the black-clothed woman. Bairu spoke with certainty. They won't be able to kill him. The black-clothed woman glanced at Bairu and said, little girl, tell you aunt the truth. Do you hope for his death? Or do you hope that he survives? Bairu was stunned, and then the atmosphere in the room fell silent. The black-clothed woman sighed lightly when she saw this, and then she turned around and headed out of the room. Aunt, what are you doing? I'm going to ask Hong and the others to return. It's already too late. Yang Yi seemed as if he'd evaporated into thin air and completely vanished from the mountain range. 10 black-clothed figures were gathered somewhere in the area. One of the 6th rank Exalt Realm experts from the Central Territory spoke in a low voice. A boundless plain it right after this mountain range. So he should be still within this mountain range. Let's search this place inch by inch. Then wouldn't we have to split up? Hong frowned. That 6th rank Exalt Realm expert glanced coldly at her and said, if your clan is afraid of a spirit realm profounder, then you can join forces and search together. We aren't afraid. As soon as he finished speaking, he and the other 4 black-clothed figures from the exalted Han Empire had split up towards different directions. Hong and the others had quite unsightly expressions as they stood on the spot. All of them were assassins, yet those assassins from the exalted Han Empire weren't afraid, while the assassins from her clan were afraid of a spirit realm profounder and intended to form a group of 5. Truthfully speaking, even she felt quite embarrassed by this. However, she was very well aware of how terrifying Yang Ye's strength was, and the slightest bit of carelessness against him might even put her life in danger. After remaining silent for a short while, Hong shook her head helplessly and said, split up and search for him. Don't act rashly upon encountering him and notify everyone first. The other 4 assassins by Hong's side nodded, and then they vanished on the spot. Hong was just about to leave as well, but an unexpected event suddenly occurred here. A golden rope shot through space and instantly arrived before her. Hong's expression changed violently. Her reaction wasn't slow at all, and she swiftly swiped her dagger at the golden rope. Clang! The golden rope was blasted flying, but her pupils constricted at the same time because 4 rays of light were shooting violently towards her at a speed that she couldn't avoid at all. Dao artifacts. For Dao artifacts, Hong discerned their quality with a single glance. So, how could she dare to act carelessly against them? She was just about to react to them when Yang Ye's voice suddenly resounded here. Rapid shift. In just a blink of the eye, Yang Yi had appeared in front of Hong. A wisp of a savage expression arose on the corners of his mouth as he gazed at her. The latter was shocked by this development and was about to teleport away when Yang Yi suddenly stomped his right foot on the ground and shouted, Sword Domain! An indescribably force instantly pressed down upon Hong, and it caused her countenance to instantly turn ghastly pale. Meanwhile, the 4 Dao artifacts had entered into Yang Ye's sword domain. However, they didn't strike down onto Hong, and they just circled around her instead, causing her to dare not move in the slightest. Yang Yi. Hong seemed to intend to say something, but Yang Yi suddenly shook his head and waved his right hand. The 4 swords transformed into 4 rays of light that pierced through Hong's body. The latter instantly opened her eyes wide while unwillingness filled her eyes. She'd thought that Yang Yi wouldn't kill her. After all, they weren't complete strangers and knew each other. However, she hadn't expected that Yang Yi would even refuse to give her a chance to speak. Yang Yi glanced at Hong's corpse while there wasn't even the slightest ripple in his eyes. Truthfully speaking, he was slightly hesitant just now. He was hesitant about whether he should kill this woman who stood in front of him. After all, they'd worked together in the past, and there was some friendship between them in the end. However, Yang Yi stopped hesitating completely when he thought about how she'd attacked him mercilessly during their first encounter that day. He wasn't one to return enmity with kindness, and he was determined to kill anyone who wanted to take his life. Even if it was Bairu. Yang Yi waved his right hand and Hong's corpse was taken into the ancient sheath. Even though he'd killed her, her strength was really not bad, and if he hadn't relied on the 5 Dao artifacts he possessed, the sword domain, and launching a surprise attack against her, then it would be utterly impossible for him to kill her. Such a person was suitable to be refined into a sword servant. Yang Yi swept the surroundings with his gaze, withdrew an extreme-grade energy stone and placed it within his pocket before his figure flashed and vanished on the spot. If he didn't possess these extreme-grade energy stones, then he wouldn't dare to utilize 5 Dao artifacts at once, no matter what. After all, utilizing all 5 of them at once just now had almost sucked him dry. I'm still too weak. Yang Ye's soft voice drifted through the air. The Central Territory. Hong's soul plate has burnt up. She's dead, said the black-clothed woman in a low voice, and Bairu fell silent for a moment before she said, "Looks like he has already taken our clan to be a sworn enemy of his. Otherwise, he wouldn't act completely ruthlessly as he has now. Should we send even more forces over?" said the black-clothed woman. And Bairu glanced at the black-clothed woman and said, "Aunt, don't interfere in the matters of the clan from now on, and don't interfere in the matters between us as well. If you're unable to do that, then I can only ask you to leave the clan." The black-clothed woman's expression changed, and then she laughed bitterly. At this moment, how could she be unable to understand Bairu's thoughts? "Bairu, you're even discarding you aunt for him?" said the black-clothed woman. And Bairu stood up and walked slowly towards the door, and she stood upon reaching it and said, "Do you still not understand? Besides arousing his hatred and future vengeance, what other benefits has your actions given the clan? None. Not only are there no benefits from your actions of dispatching assassins to take his life, you've even caused the past relationship between him and the clan to be destroyed. I know that Aunt thinks that our clan is powerful and is unafraid of his revenge. However, we didn't have to endure his revenge in the first place. Moreover, the relationship we had with him in the past would be equivalent to providing the clan with another way out. But it's all gone now." As soon as she finished speaking, Bairu took a deep breath and said, "Ask the others to return immediately. Don't make unnecessary sacrifices." Yang Yi sat cross-legged within a cave, and both Mo Qingyu and Mu Jun were standing in front of him. Mo Qingyu had attained the 3rd rank of the spirit realm, while Mu Jun was at the 4th rank of the spirit realm. However, the strengths of these 2 sword servants were too weak in Yang Ye's opinion. They were definitely capable of sweeping through opponents in the same realm of cultivation, but they were worthless against Exalt realm experts. However, Yang Yi didn't give up on them because they possessed enormous potential. Once they advanced into the Exalt realm, then their strengths would definitely be much more formidable than ordinary Exalt realm experts. Yang Yi pondered deeply for a moment before he waved his hand, and he placed both of them within the tiny vortex. There was ample energy within the tiny vortex, so their natural talent would definitely allow them to improve swiftly while cultivating within there. After that, Yang Yi gave Hong's corpse to the sword spirit. He naturally didn't intend to give up on an Exalt realm sword servant who was an assassin. It was slightly risky because there was quite a gap between him and the Exalt realm, and he might not be able to control such a sword servant. However, it was worth a try. Once he finished all of this, Yang Yi sat down cross-legged, and then he withdrew 2 extreme-grade energy stones and placed them on his lap before he started cultivating. His current cultivation was too low, and he was utterly incapable of resisting Exalt realm experts if he didn't rely on the tiny vortex. The reason he was able to kill Exalt realm experts was because he could utilize Dao artifacts and bring forth a certain amount of their strength. But if it were any other spirit realm profounder or even a Nanjing, it would probably be impossible for them to utilize Dao artifacts like he did. After all, the amount of profound energy spirit realm profounders could store was too little. Even if some monstrous genius were able to store much more profound energy when compared to others, but it wasn't that much more. So, Xianxia's strength was bound to be sources from the tiny vortex. Only by improving the tiny vortex could his strength improve greatly, and if he wanted to improve the tiny vortex, then he had to work hard on his cultivation. Because the tiny vortex improved alongside him with every rank of cultivation he gained. Besides cultivating, Xianxia did go around the area in search of Exalt Realm assassins who were all alone during the next few days. He'd encountered 2 such targets during this period, but Xianxia hadn't attacked them, because while they were all alone, they were at the 5th rank and 6th rank of the Exalt Realm. He was truly not confident in his ability to instantly annihilate such an expert. No, it should be said that he wasn't even confident in his ability to defeat such an opponent. He was only at the Spirit Realm and not the Exalt Realm right now. If he were at the Exalt Realm, then perhaps he could give it a try, but he was only at the Spirit Realm, so he truly didn't want to court death right now. Night slowly descended and enveloped the entire mountain range in darkness. Xianxia opened his eyes within the cave, and then his lips parted slightly as he spat out a mouthful of foul energy. A wisp of delight flashed through Xianxia's eyes because his ceaselessly cultivation for a few days and night had allowed him to advance into the 2nd rank of the Spirit Realm. Moreover, he was pleasantly surprised to notice that the profound energy pool within the tiny vortex had grown slightly larger as well. Besides that, the space within the tiny vortex had grown much larger as well. Something else that shocked Xianxia was that both Mo Qingyu and Mu Jun had advanced in their cultivations. Mo Qingyu was at the 4th rank of the Spirit Realm now, while Mu Jun was at the 5th rank of the Spirit Realm. Moreover, the aura they emanated right now showed that they seemed to be on the verge of undergoing another advancement. How abnormal! Xianxia chuckled. He was naturally aware that it was definitely because of the tiny vortex. After the energy within the White Dragon's abode had been absorbed into the tiny vortex, it had simply been transformed into a paradise of cultivation. The energy within it was so abundant to the point it had become material. So, even a pig would probably be able to cultivate to the point of taking human form if it cultivated in such a place. Xianxia was slightly envious and depressed, because he couldn't enter the tiny vortex to cultivate. Anyone else could, but only he couldn't, as he couldn't enter the tiny vortex himself. If he could enter the tiny vortex to cultivate, then it wouldn't even take long for him to advance into the Exalt Realm with the natural talent he possessed. But he couldn't. Xianxia shook his head and stopped thinking about such depressing things. He waved his right hand and made the sword spirit appear before him with Hong by her side. Of course, Hong had been refined into a sword servant now. Xianxia took a deep breath as he gazed at Hong, and then his soul shot into the center of her forehead. His task at hand was to subdue the sword spirit and place his brand onto its soul. If he succeeded, then it would represent that he would possess an extraordinary goon from that moment onward. If he failed, Xianxia had never considered failure to be an option. Time passed slowly while Xianxia's countenance grew gradually paler. Subduing an Exalt Realm sword servant was much more difficult than he'd imagined, because the soul and will of an Exalt Realm expert was something that a Spirit Realm profounder couldn't compare to. However, Hong was only a puppet without a will of her own, so her resistance was only carried out unconsciously. So, while it was troublesome for Xianxia, it wasn't impossible. 2 hours later, Xianxia suddenly slumped to the ground while Hong's eyes opened slowly. However, her eyes were completely still and without any color. Hong walked slowly towards Xianxia, and then she took a knee before him and said respectfully, "Sword Master." A trace of a smile appeared on Xianxia's pale face. Even though the process was quite difficult, he'd succeeded in the end. From this moment onward, it was equivalent to him possessing an extraordinary goon who was at the 3rd rank of the Exalt Realm. Of course, this wasn't the most important thing. The most important thing was that Xianxia had seen a ray of hope from this. Since he could subdue Exalt Realm experts, then he naturally intended to subdue even more of them. It's best if I'm able to form a huge group of Exalt Realm sword servants. Xianxia recovered his strength after half a day of recuperation, and then he lifted the sword chest onto his back before walking out of the cave. He knew that those pursuers of his hadn't left, because he could sense figures flying by swiftly every now and then while he resided within the cave. Suddenly, a black shadow whistled over from the distant sky. Yang Yi withdrew his gaze and glanced at Hong while a wisp of an evil arc arose on the corners of his mouth. At this moment, all of them were unaware that Hong wasn't the same person anymore. Yang Ye's figure flashed and vanished on the spot, and only Hong was left behind on the spot. In next to no time, that black shadow descended in front of Hong. "What are you still doing here?" The person who arrived here gazed at Hong with a puzzled expression. A few days ago, the clan had suddenly ordered all its assassins to leave, and he hadn't expected that Hong had actually stayed back. Hong spoke abruptly. "I noticed his tracks." "Oh." He was delighted and said, "Where?" Their group of 5 had practically searched the entire mountain range yet hadn't noticed a trace of Yang Ye's tracks. So they'd been on the verge of going berserk in the last few days. "He's..." Suddenly, Hong clenched her right hand towards the black-clothed figure and shouted, "Spatial cage." The space around the black-clothed figure suddenly frozen, and it caused his expression to change greatly while he shouted, "What are you doing?" As he spoke, he was just about to break this spatial cage apart. However, a golden rope suddenly pierced through space and wrapped itself around him. In an instant, the profound energy within his body stopped moving and fell into a deathly silent state. This caused the black-clothed figure to be horrified, and he shouted, "What are you doing? Aren't you afraid of my exalted Han Empire's revenge? Quickly let..." A ray of gold light flashed, and then the black-clothed man's voice stopped abruptly. He lowered his head and looked at his chest with disbelief because a hole that was stabbed open by a sword had appeared there. If it was just a normal hole, then such injuries weren't a big deal to him. However, the problem was that a strand of sword intent was destroying his body from within without any restraint. In less than 2 breaths of time, all his internal organs had been completely destroyed by the sword intent, and his gaze quickly dimmed down. Yang Yi appeared before the black-clothed man, and then he gestured with his right hand, causing the immortal binding rope to wrap itself onto his arm. He glanced at it, and then he grinned because it really was a great treasure. After all, even Exalt Realm experts couldn't struggle free upon being bound by it. Of course, an Exalt Realm assassin would have naturally not been bound with such ease if it were at any other time. So, Hong's spatial cage had contributed greatly to all of this. When such a combination was utilized in a surprise attack, even a 4th-rank Exalt Realm assassin didn't have the chance to counterattack before death arrived. After that, Yang Yi waved his right hand again and handed the corpse of this Exalt Realm assassin to the sword spirit. He glanced at the surroundings and took a deep breath while a smile covered his face, because he noticed that it didn't seem to be difficult to kill all of these assassins on this mountain range. 2 hours later, there was one more sword servant by Yang Ye's side. It was naturally that Exalt Realm assassin from before. His name was Mo Mingjin, and he was a 4th-rank Exalt Realm expert. Yang Yi was surprised to find out that this assassin actually possessed no memories. Yes, this assassin merely possessed his memories from after he arrived at Ancient Domain City, and everything else was a complete blank sheet. This made Yang Yi, who wanted to investigate their origins and the situation within the Exalted Han Empire, to feel depressed. He knew that they were definitely assassins that the Exalted Han Empire had fostered in secret, and their memories had surely been wiped off by the Exalted Han Empire as well. As for the reason, it was naturally because the Exalted Han Empire feared that they would fall into the hands of people who were looking for information and expose the secrets of the Exalted Han Empire. Even Exalt Realm experts were treated in such a way. Looks like the Exalted Han Empire's strength is far beyond my expectations. No wonder it dared to speak about uniting the continent. Yang Ye's expression was slightly solemn because the closer he got to the Exalted Han Empire, the more terrifying this colossus seemed to him. Haha, what's the fucking point of thinking about all of that now? As if I would submit to them. Yang Yi shook his head, and then his figure flashed and vanished on the spot with the 2 sword servants. At this moment, he was already at odds with the Exalted Han Empire, so was it even possible for him to make peace with that colossus? Of course not. Since it was impossible, then thinking so much about it was meaningless. His current objective was to kill those assassins who were pursuing him, and it was best if he could refine all of them into sword servants in the end. In the past, Xianxia felt that the Sword Emperor's ancient sheath was quite useless because it seemed to have no other ability besides amplifying his sword intent and acting as a counter to all swords. However, both of those abilities weren't really important to him, but only now did he realize that the ancient sheath was extremely abnormal. Wasn't the ability to refine Exalt Realm experts into sword servants an abnormal ability? Of course, there were limits to this, but these limits weren't related to the sword spirit, and it was related to his own strength instead. He was able to control 10 sword servants at most with the current realm of cultivation he possessed. However, that was very good in Xianxia's opinion. If all 10 of them were Exalt Realm experts, then it would be considerably terrifying. After all, the Monarch Realm experts of the continent weren't allowed to make a move against him. In next to no time, Xianxia found another Exalt Realm assassin, and a smile couldn't help but curve onto the corners of his mouth. At this moment, laying eyes on these assassins was equivalent to laying eyes on extraordinary sword servants under his control, so he was naturally happy when he saw them. Xianxia! The pupils of that assassin constricted upon noticing Xianxia, and then he glanced at Mo Mingjin and Hong before he said, "What are?" Xianxia didn't give him the time to talk nonsense. He shook his right hand a little, and then the immortal binding rope flashed and transformed into a ray of light that shot towards that assassin. A Dao artifact. His expression changed drastically, and he was just about to attack when he suddenly heard two voices resounded here. "Spatial cage! Spatial cage!" Hiss! A ray of light pierced through the chest of that assassin who was bound by the immortal binding rope, and then the sword intent in that attack instantly crushed the internal organs within that black-clothed assassin's body. His eyes were opened wide. Even at the moment before his death, he still couldn't figure out why Mo Mingjin and Hong would help Xianxia. Unfortunately, he would never be able to figure it out. After he passed the black-clothed assassin's corpse to the sword spirit, Xianxia withdrew an extreme-grade energy stone and started absorbing the energy within it. Even though they'd annihilated a 4th-rank Exalt Realm assassin with ease this time, Xianxia hadn't aroused any intent to underestimate his opponents at all. Xianxia was very clearly aware that the reason he'd been able to kill them with such ease was that he'd taken them by surprise. If he hadn't, then perhaps Xianxia and the 2 sword servants could kill that black-clothed assassin, but it would absolutely not be accomplished with such ease. Moreover, the slightest mistake might allow that fellow to escape or notify his companions. So, Xianxia didn't think that Exalt Realm experts weren't a threat to him anymore since he was able to kill 2 of them in succession. Just like that, another 2 hours passed before the profound energy within Xianxia's body recovered, and the sword servant had been refined by the sword spirit as well. All that was left was to subdue it. With the experience he'd accumulated from his first 2 attempts, it was clearly much easier for Xianxia this time, and he'd succeeded in less than an hour. This sword servant had a name as well. But the sake of convenience, Xianxia renamed those 2 assassins from the Central Territory. Mo Mingjin was called Black 1, and the other black-clothed assassin was called Black 2. As for Hong, she was still called Hong. As he gazed at the 3 sword servants who stood before him, Xianxia had no choice but to sigh with emotion about how extraordinary the sword spirit was and the sword emperor who created such a technique. Because it was truly an extraordinary technique. It wasn't extraordinary because it could take control of Exalt Realm experts, and the main reason was because besides their lack of emotion and a will of their own, they were no different than a living person in every other aspect. That was exactly why Hong and Black 1 had been able to deceive Black 2 with ease just now. It was because their outer appearances were no different than that of a living person. So, unless they scanned the sword servants with their divine sense, otherwise, it was impossible to discern that the sword servants weren't living people by relying solely on one's eyes. If someone close to me was refined into a sword servant. Xianxia instantly shuddered with fear when he thought of this possibility, and he felt fortunate in his heart that this secret technique had fallen into his hands. Otherwise, if it had fallen into the hands of others like Luo Jun, then it would truly be terrifying. After he put the 3 sword servants away, The blue sword chest he carried on his back vanished as well. He'd found out from Black 2 that there were 3 more Exalt Realm assassins in the mountain range, and 2 of them were at the 5th rank of the Exalt Realm while the last was at the 6th rank of the Exalt Realm. Yang Yi immediately decided to give up on subduing them because the sword spirit said that 5th rank Exalt Realm experts were definitely not existences he could subdue right now. The 5th rank of the Exalt Realm was a divide, and the gap between those below the 5th rank and those at the 5th rank or above was extremely huge. This wasn't displayed solely by their strength and attainments in the secrets of space, and it included their souls as well. The soul couldn't be destroyed when a sword spirit was refined and created. However, the souls of 5th rank Exalt Realm experts could leave their bodies just like his sword soul technique, which allowed his soul to leave his body. Even though their souls couldn't leave their bodies for too long, they possessed a certain level of ability to resist. To put it simply, the souls of 5th rank Exalt Realm experts weren't like the souls of experts below the 5th rank of the Exalt Realm, which merely resisted unconsciously. Their souls could resist consciously. The current strength of Yang Ye's soul was utterly incapable of going against the soul of a 5th rank Exalt Realm expert. So, Yang Yi didn't hesitate to give up on kill them, because failure would represent that his possession of the sword servants would be exposed. He didn't want to expose it right now because he wanted to give Luo Jun a huge pleasant surprise in the future. 3 black-clothed figures were gathered together somewhere on the mountain range, and they had extremely solemn expressions on their faces, because they noticed that they weren't able to contact the other 2 of their companions anymore. They are dead. The 6th rank Exalt Realm expert amongst them spoke in a low voice. The others were shocked and said, "Chenzhou, that should be impossible, right? Both of them are at the 4th rank of the Exalt Realm. How could Yang Yi possibly kill them with the strength he possesses? Moreover, he didn't cause even the slightest commotion. Wu Tsang is right," the last black-clothed figure said in a low voice. "I admit that the Sword Emperor's strength is very extraordinary, but I think it's impossible for him to kill the 2 of them without making a single sound or causing the slightest bit of commotion. After all, they are both at the Exalt Realm. Even if Yang Yi possesses some sort of shocking trump card, they're still capable of fleeing or resisting him for some time." "I didn't believe it in the beginning as well," Chenzhou said, "but I received a transmission from the Mortal Emperor just now. The Mortal Emperor said that their soul tablets have burnt up. In other words, they are really dead. However, I don't know if they died at Yang Ye's hands or not. But I think that it's definitely related to him, even if he wasn't the one who killed them." Their expressions instantly changed upon hearing this. Chenzhou said, "This Sword Emperor is extremely mysterious. Not only does he possess numerous Dao artifacts, he's even able to conceal his aura. Moreover, his strength far surpasses any profounder at the same realm of cultivation. He's the most monstrous genius I've even seen, and he'll definitely become another formidable enemy of the Mortal Emperor if he's allowed to mature. I'm truly unable to figure out why the heavens and the earth would allow such a monstrous genius to appear here when it has chosen the Mortal Emperor as its representative. Was his presence allowed in order to temper the Mortal Emperor? It must be like that," Wu Tsang said. "Didn't huge amounts of monstrous geniuses surge into appearance when the Mortal Emperor appeared in the continent during the ancient times? But didn't all of them submit before the feet of the Mortal Emperor in the end? Even though the Sword Emperor is a monstrous genius, he'll still be a stepping stone for the Mortal Emperor in the end." "I hope so," said Chenzhou. He was completely indifferent when he heard Yang Ye's name while he was in the Central Territory in the past. After all, Yang Yi was merely at the spirit realm. So how monstrous could Yang Yi be? Yet now, he noticed that this Sword Emperor was such a monstrous genius that even he was slightly fearful. He wasn't afraid of Yang Ye's current strength. He was afraid of Yang Ye's future strength. He could imagine that once Yang Yi stepped foot into the Exalt realm, then it would probably be impossible for anyone beneath the Monarch realm to kill Yang Yi. "Brother Chun, should we continue pursuing Yang Yi, or?" asked Wu Tsang. Chenzhou shook his head and said, "There are only 3 illusion formations left outside the Saint Ruins. The Mortal Emperor has ordered us to immediately return to the Central Territory, and there'll naturally be others to deal with Yang Yi in our stead. Alas, I presume the mortal emperor is displeased with us, otherwise, he wouldn't dispatch others to replace us. I originally thought that killed a spirit realm profounder would be extremely easy for us. But I never expected that not only were we unable to kill him, we even lost 2 of our own. We've really lost face for our assassin battalion this time. The members of the Azura battalion will definitely ridicule us if we return like this, Wuxia said. Why don't we avoid rushing to the Central Territory right away and wait for Xianxia to arrive exhausted before us at the Ocean of Anarchy? Xianxia's objective is the Saint Ruins, and the Ocean of Anarchy is the way to the Central Territory. So, he'll definitely have to pass through there, and we'll definitely be able to wait for him to come to us if we wait there. Chunzhou was slightly tempted by this suggestion because he really didn't want to return just like this. After all, it was truly quite embarrassing. Even though Xianxia was an extraordinarily monstrous genius, would others care about that detail? In their eyes, the only fact that remained would be that the 5 of them had pursued a spirit realm profounder, yet not only were they unable to kill their target, they'd even lost 2 of their own. Moreover, they'd even returned with their tails between their legs. Chunzhou hesitated for a moment before he decided. Let's go to the Ocean of Anarchy. I refuse to believe that he'll give up on heading to the Central Territory. As soon as he finished speaking, their figures flashed and vanished on the spot. Xianxia appeared where they stood not long after they'd left. He was originally prepared to head to the Ocean of Anarchy just now. But Black 1 and Black 2 suddenly received a message from Chunzhou. Chunzhou had merely intended to inform the other 2, but he probably hadn't imagined that Black 1 and Black 2 had received the message as well. Xianxia naturally refused to miss such an opportunity, so he'd snuck over. Moreover, it was fortunate that he'd snuck over because if he just headed to the Ocean of Anarchy without coming here, then he would have definitely fallen into their trap. Even though he wasn't afraid of them, he didn't want to have them chasing after him. After all, his objective was the Saint Ruins, and the Southern Territory would truly be finished if he were late and allowed Luo Jun to obtain the world portrait. Xianxia fell silent on the spot for some time, and then his figure flashed onto his sword and shot towards the Ocean of Anarchy. After he eavesdropped on their conversation, Xianxia knew that he had to speed up his journey to the Central Territory. Unfortunately, those 3 bastards actually refused to return to the Central Territory and intended to continue obstructing him at the Ocean of Anarchy. Xianxia wouldn't have minded playing with them if it were at any ordinary time. However, he really didn't have the mood to fight them right now. The world portrait was the most important thing. Xianxia stopped flying on his sword when he was about to reach the Ocean of Anarchy because doing that would undoubtedly be like giving away his position to the 3 assassins. Clack, clack, clack. Suddenly, the sound of horse hooves resounded from behind Xianxia. Xianxia stopped moving and turned around to look. He saw a group dashing swiftly towards him, and there were a few hundred people in that group. A wisp of surprise flashed through Xianxia's eyes because this group was using windbreaker horses, and every single one of the people in that group was at the King realm at least. They noticed Xianxia as well, and they immediately tightened their grip on their weapons while their eyes were filled with vigilance. Xianxia didn't want to cause trouble, so he flashed over to the side and made way for them. The group whistled past Xianxia. At this moment, Xianxia noticed that there was a carriage amidst this group, and the guards surrounded it tightly. Obviously, the status and identity of that person within the carriage wasn't simple at all. However, it had nothing to do with him. Right at this moment, the group suddenly stopped moving. An alluring woman who wore a red leather skirt and held a golden whip was obstructing their path. The woman was over 30 years ago and had a hot figure that was covered in slightly revealing clothes. Besides the important areas on her body, practically every other part of her body was exposed in the air. The most striking thing was the tattoo on her neck. It was a tattoo of a little snake that was flicking its tongue, and it was coiled all around her neck. The head of the snake was facing downward, and it just happened to arrive at her cleavage, causing it to be an extremely arousing sight. The guards on the windbreaker horses seemed as if they were facing an extraordinary enemy when they saw this alluring woman, and their faces were covered in vigilance. It was because this woman was an Exalt Realm expert. Protect the young miss. The 9th rank Spirit Realm guard in the lead shouted furiously, and all the guards immediately withdrew their treasures, and the profound energy within their bodies surged as they stared fixedly at the woman. The woman chuckled, and then she casually swung the golden whip about. It instantly caused crackling sounds to erupt in the air. And then she said, "Young Miss Ding, you really are extraordinarily intelligent like the rumors said. You actually tricked your way through the scouts and ambush of my Sky Devil sect. If I hadn't had a backup plan in place, then you would have probably been able to flee back to the ocean of anarchy." Creak. The door of the carriage opened slowly, and then a woman in a green dress walked out slowly from within it. The woman was around the age of 17. She was pretty and slender, but her countenance was slightly sickly pale. She waved her hand, and then the guards around her instantly moved backward and opened up a path. "Medusa, I'm really unable to wrap my head around all of this. Everyone has been living in harmony at the Ocean of Anarchy for the last 100 years. So why has your Sky Devil sect suddenly attacked my Ding clan? Is your Sky Devil sect not afraid of my Ding clan's rage?" said the woman. "Young Miss Ding, are you trying to delay so that the reinforcements from your Ding clan can rescue you?" Medusa said, "If that's your plan, then I can tell you that there's no need to continue waiting, because others have gone to stop those experts from coming here." The woman revealed a wisp of apprehension, and then she said, "The Blue Wave Sect, Nebula Sect, and Divine Mystery Sect have joined forces with your Sky Devil sect." She was very clearly aware that since Medusa dared to speak those words, then the Sky Devil sect had definitely obtained assistance. Otherwise, it was impossible for the Sky Devil sect alone to go against her Ding clan. A wisp of surprise flashed through Medusa's eyes, and then she said, "Young Miss Ding is really extraordinarily intelligent. Since you've guessed the answer, then you won't be trying to carry out any pointless resistance, right? I guarantee that if you follow me obediently, then I'll spare all of your subordinates' lives. Young Miss Ding, you're my only target. Even I did agree these guards of mine wouldn't," said the woman. "We swear to protect the young miss to our deaths." All of them spoke simultaneously while their eyes were filled with resolute expressions, and there was no cowardice within their eyes at all. "So, young Miss Ding intends to resist until the very end?" Medusa's gaze gradually grew icy cold. Even though she was an Exalt Realm expert, she was facing over 100 profounders. Moreover, over 30 of them were at the Spirit Realm, while there were over 10 at the 9th rank of the Spirit Realm. They were quite a threat to her if they were to be united in battle. Otherwise, she wouldn't have wasted her breath for so long. "Form the formation," said the woman. As soon as she spoke, all those guards around her moved swiftly, and they formed a circulate formation in a short moment. The guards at the internal layer of the circle held bows in their hands, while the guards at the outer layers held spears in their hands. Moreover, a faint blue circle of light had appeared beneath their feet. "We just have to persist for an hour. The experts of our clan will definitely be here by then. If we're able to survive this battle, then my Ding clan is willing to give 10 top-grade energy stones to each and every one of you. Moreover, the Earth Rank Technique Pavilion will be open to all of you for half a month, while you can choose one of the Earth Rank treasure within the Earth Rank Treasure Pavilion. If you die in battle, then my Ding clan will provide a compensation of 50 top-grade energy stones, and allow your children to join the Ding clan to learn alongside the disciples of the Ding clan." The woman's flat voice resounded throughout the surroundings. All of them seemed as if they'd taken stimulants when they heard her, and they spoke excitedly. "We'll protect the young miss to our deaths." Medusa's expression was slightly unsightly because she wasn't wrong. Those experts who had gone to stop the experts of the Ding clan weren't able to hold on for long. After all, the Ding clan was an extraordinary overlord in the Ocean of Anarchy. So, all of these sects wouldn't have dared to go against the Ding clan at all if it weren't for the support they received in secret from a certain party. Now, there were only two paths before her. The first was to attack immediately and fight to the bloody end in order to capture the young miss of the Ding clan. However, she didn't have much hope of succeeding by herself when the death squad of the Ding clan was protecting young Miss Ding. The second path was to wait for her forces to arrive. Earlier, she'd torn through space and rushed over here to stop young Miss Ding from arriving at the Ocean of Anarchy. So, the experts from her sect were still rushing over from somewhere else. If they were to arrive here, then it would be extremely easy for her to deal with the situation before her. However, if the experts from the Ding clan were the first to rush over, then she would definitely die a horrifying death without young Miss Ding as her hostage. Should I act immediately or wait? Medusa was in a slight dilemma. Yang Yi glanced at those two women from the side. She really is intelligent. Not only did she show no signs of panic when facing an Exalt Realm expert, she was even able to calmly set up a formation and win the hearts of her subordinates. Such a mentality and intelligence can truly compete with that cunning woman Xianxia. If she was by herself, then Yang Yi would have the slight urge to draw her over to his side. She was a capable talent, and she would definitely be able to be of great help to him. Unfortunately, it was obvious that her identity wasn't ordinary, so how could she possibly come over to his side? He didn't think he had some sort of aura of an overlord that could make all beauties and heroes of the world kneel before him if he revealed his identity as the Sword Emperor. Moreover, he didn't want to get involved in all this enmity between sects and clans. He had a huge amount of trouble already, so how could he have the mood to interfere in the business of others? Yang Yi shook his head, turned around, and walked over towards the side. Yang Ye's actions made the gazes of the two women move towards him. Unexpectedly, they frowned when they saw his actions yet didn't stop him. Obviously, they discerned Yang Ye's intentions, and that was he didn't want any trouble. Yang Yi took 2 steps before he suddenly stopped moving, and this action made their eyelids twitch. Moreover, Medusa even tightened her grip on her whip. Logically speaking, she was at the 2nd rank of the Exalt Realm while this sword cultivator before her was merely at the 2nd rank of the Spirit Realm, so she shouldn't fear him. However, her intuition told her that this sword cultivator was extremely dangerous. Of course, she wasn't relying solely on her intuition. Those who'd attained the Exalt Realm were naturally not idiots. Based on her observation from before, she noticed that this sword cultivator was actually completely fearless when facing both their forces. Not only was he completely fearless, his gaze towards them was extremely calm and natural. If this sword cultivator wasn't someone who was extremely reckless, then he had trump cards that allowed him to remain fearless while facing both of them. They simultaneously chose to believe the second possibility because this man who carried a sword chest on his back didn't seem reckless at all. Yang Yi stopped, turned around, and glanced at everyone here before he said, "Air, how do I get to the Ocean of Anarchy?" Yang Yi wasn't trying to act cool. He'd really gotten lost upon descending to the ground. Right at this moment, delight suddenly flashed on Medusa's face because her backup had arrived. Over 200 profounders flashed over from afar and arrived here in an instant. Every single one of them was at the King Realm, at least. In just a short moment, they'd completely surrounded young Miss Ning's group under the command of the bald man who led their group. Young Miss Ding's face sank. "Ding Xiaoyao, I'll give you one last chance. I'll spare the lives of all your guards if you were to be obedient and come with me. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless," said Medusa in a low voice. The woman called Ding Xiaoyao glanced at the surroundings while a wisp of a resolute expression flashed through her eyes, and she said, "Everyone, I'm sure you're all aware of the Sky Devil Sect's style. They will definitely not spare all of you even if I agree to her demands. Split up and flee from this moment onward. Your fate will depend entirely on your own fortune. Don't worry. My promises from before are still valid even if you suffer misfortune and perish." When she spoke up to hear, Ding Xiaoyao flipped her palm, and a talisman appeared there. She shouted furiously, "Flee!" As soon as she finished speaking, she exerted a little strength with her hand, and the talisman instantly exploded apart before she vanished on the spot. "It's a random teleportation talisman. Damn it!" Medusa was instantly furious when she witnessed this scene, and she said, "Kill them! Don't let a single one get away." Those guards recovered from their shock, and then they immediately gave up on resisting and flashed towards the surroundings. However, most of them were killed, and only less than 20 had charged out of the encirclement. But whether they could fully escape was still a problem before there was a whole group of profounders chasing after them. "My lord, what should we do now?" asked the bald man in a low voice. Medusa had quite a ferocious expression on her face. Victory was right within her grasps, yet she hadn't imagined that woman would actually possess a random teleportation talisman. It was actually all because she'd been careless. After all, she could have locked down this expanse of space if she hadn't acted carelessly, and it would cause the random teleportation talisman to lose its effects. Unfortunately, she thought Ding Xiaoyao intended to fight desperately to the death. How could she have imagined that Ding Xiaoyao would actually give the order to flee and be the first to actually do it? Don't chase after those useless pieces of trash. Order everyone to search an area of 100 kilometers around us. Even though Ding Xiaoyao is a spirit realm profounder, she doesn't have any combat strength because of her physique. So, tell them that there's no need to fear her. Of course, they shouldn't act carelessly as well. After all, we can't guarantee that she doesn't have any life-saving measures in her possession, said Medusa with a gloomy expression. The bald man nodded, and then he glanced at Yang Yi and said, "My lord, what about him?" Medusa's gaze descended onto Yang Yi. She gazed at Yang Yi for a moment before she suddenly cracked a smile and said, "Young master, you seem very unfamiliar. I presume you aren't from the Ocean of Anarchy." Yang Yi said, "I'm not interested in the enmity between the powers here, and I'm merely passing by and just happened to stumble across this incident. I presume you're from the Ocean of Anarchy. So may I ask you how to get there?" Medusa asked. "Young master, why are you heading to the Ocean of Anarchy?" Yang Yi frowned. Meanwhile, Medusa suddenly said, "Just continue on forward, and you'll be able to arrive at the Ocean of Anarchy after you pass through Still Ridge. But you have to be careful because Still Ridge is filled with numerous dark beasts, and there's no lack of exalt rank dark beasts amongst them. I'm afraid it'll be difficult for you to pass through Still Ridge with the strength you possess. So why don't you come with us? At least we'll be able to take care of each other on the way. What do you think?" "There's no need for that. I'm in a rush, so I'll be bidding my farewells." Yang Yi nodded a little to the two of them, and then he walked forward. This woman and the Sky Devil sect were clearly not anything good, so he didn't want to have anything to do with them. It wasn't that he was afraid, but he just didn't want any trouble. "Wait!" Right at this moment, the bald man suddenly stopped Yang Yi. Medusa's brows knit together a little, and she glanced at the bald man with displeasure. With the experience and knowledge she possessed, she was practically sure that while this man was at the spirit realm, he definitely possessed some sort of trump card or an extraordinary identity. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to stay so indifferent when facing an Exalt Realm expert. That was exactly why she allowed Yang Yi to leave. She wasn't afraid of him, but she didn't want any trouble as well. In any case, she would gain nothing from killing him. Yang Yi stopped and turned around to gaze at the bald man as he said, "What?" The bald man took a deep glance at Yang Yi before he said to Medusa, "My lord, do you remember that person who the sect master asked us to look out for? You weren't in the sect at that time, so you didn't see the portrait that the sect master had. But I did. I didn't recall it immediately just now, but now that I've thought about it, I noticed that the person in the portrait is extremely similar in appearance to him. If I'm not wrong, then he's definitely the person who the sect master is looking for. We can't allow him to leave." Medusa said, "Are you sure?" The bald man nodded and said, "That person in the portrait wasn't carrying a sword chest on his back, so I wasn't able to recognize him right away. But now it seems like besides the sword chest on his back, he's completely similar in likeness to that person in the portrait. So, I'm sure that he's the person who the sect master is looking for. The sect master said that if we found him, then we absolutely shouldn't alarm him and should notify the sect master first. I presume that he should be extremely important to the sect master. So, we absolutely can't allow him to leave." Medusa pondered deeply for a moment, and then she gazed at Yang Yi and said, "Young master, I presume you heard all of that, right?" At this moment, Yang Ye's heart was filled with bewilderment. That bald fellow doesn't seem to be lying, but why would the sect master of the Sky Devil sect have a portrait of me? Could it be that? Yang Yi seemed to have thought of something, and his gaze turned icy cold. "Young master, I presume you won't reject coming to the Sky Devil sect with me, right?" Medusa spoke indifferently while the golden whip in her hand seemed to have come to life and was vibrating slightly. Earlier, she'd let him go because she wasn't aware of his origins and didn't want to cause trouble for herself. But now, she naturally couldn't let him go since her sect master was looking for him. "I'll go to there, but not with you." As soon as he finished speaking, Xianxia's figure flashed and shot explosively towards Medusa. At this point, it was pointless to continue wasting his breath, so he'd attacked directly. He hadn't intended to attack her before this because he really didn't want to cause trouble for himself. After all, the most important matter at hand was to travel to the Central Territory. Unfortunately, she didn't intend to let him go. Since it was like that, then he could only deal with these fellows who were blocking his path. Medusa's face fell when she saw Xianxia attack her because it was simply an insult to her when a spirit realm profounder actually took the initiative to attack her. She stopped holding back and flicked her wrist, causing the whip in her grasp to shoot swiftly towards Xianxia like a golden snake. Xianxia smashed his fist towards the whip that assaulted him. Bang! Medusa's whip was instantly blasted flying, and it shocked her. Obviously, she hadn't expected that Xianxia's strength would actually be so great and would actually be able to blast her whip back. Once she recovered from her shock, all Medusa felt was fury, because the attack of a dignified Exalt Realm expert like her had actually been blasted back by a Spirit Realm profounder, and she felt that it was an utter humiliation. "You're courting death." Medusa waved her hand, causing the golden whip to expand in midair and transform into an almost 300 m long python. And the python shifted its body to smash down forcefully towards Xianxia. A combat technique. Xianxia didn't dare act carelessly. He gestured with his hand and dragon bone appeared within his grasp, and then he grabbed it with both hands as he slashed it horizontally. In an instant, countless threads of sword chi shot forward explosively and collided with the golden python. Space immediately surged violently, while countless waves of energy overlapped each other and swept towards the surroundings. Medusa revealed undisguised shock from her eyes when she witnessed this scene. Was that an attack from a spirit realm profounder? It was even able to destroy my high-grade Earth rank combat technique. Fortunately, it was only sword chi that wasn't enhanced by sword intent. This young man has probably not comprehended sword intent. Otherwise. Right at this moment, a ray of light flashed. A strand of violet sword chi had instantly arrived before Medusa, and she didn't even hesitate to wave her hand casually and strike it with her whip. Bang! An explosion resounded as the sword chi dispersed while Medusa's whip broke as well. After the sword chi dispersed, a strand of red light flashed out from there, and it didn't slow down at all as it shot towards her. Medusa was staring blankly at her broken whip, and then her expression changed drastically when she saw that strand of red light. She shouted with astonishment. "Sword intent. Material sword intent. What sort of monster are you?" Even though she was shocked, Medusa's reaction wasn't slow at all. She swiftly waved her right hand and clenched it, causing the strand of red light to be instantly frozen on the spot, and then it instantly rumbled and dispersed in midair. Right at this moment, Medusa's pupils constricted while coldness arose from the back of her neck. Medusa relied on the combat experience she'd honed through numerous years to swiftly stomp her right foot on the ground and vanish on the spot. However, it was still a little too late, and a bloody cut which was over 10 centimeters long had appeared on the back of her neck. Medusa glanced at Xianxia with astonishment. She completely disregarded the injury on her neck, tore space open, and flashed towards the distance at an extremely swift speed. She vanished from Xianxia's field of vision in less than a breath of time. Xianxia was stunned. "She's gone just like that? I haven't even used my full strength." A short while later, Xianxia shook his head while he felt quite speechless. He hadn't expected that a dignified Exalt Realm expert would actually flee from battle. However, Xianxia noticed a problem which he faced. It was that he was really helpless against Exalt Realm experts if they were determined to flee. Just like when Medusa fled just now. All he could do was watch her flee. "I seem to have forgotten that there's another person here." Xianxia turned around to gaze at the dumbstruck bald man whose eyes were filled with shock, and then he shook his head. What was it like to court death? This was exactly it. because the bald man wouldn't have to die if he hadn't talked too much. Unfortunately, a ray of light flashed, and then the head of the bald man, who was a fifth-rank spirit realm profounder, flew into the air. It was really not difficult to sweep through all profounders at the same realm of cultivation with the 8th-level slaughter sword intent he possessed. Xianxia put his sword away, and then he turned around to look towards the side before he said, "Are you still going to continue hiding there?" A woman appeared in front of Xianxia, and she was exactly Ding Xiaoyao, who'd utilized a random teleportation talisman to flee just now. Actually, she hadn't utilized a random teleportation talisman at all, and it was a cloaking talisman instead. Xianxia had only seen records of cloaking talismans in Lin Shan's books, and he hadn't seen one in his life. He hadn't imagined that he would actually see one here. Moreover, the quality of her cloaking talisman wasn't low at all. It was at the mid-grade at least. Otherwise, it would be impossible for her to deceive Medusa just now. "You're a talisman master." Ding Xiaoyao gazed at Xianxia while she still held a talisman in her hand, and she said, "Only a talisman master would be able to see through the difference between a cloaking talisman and random teleportation talisman. Based on your dressing, you're not from the Ocean of Anarchy, and you should be from the Southern Territory or Ancient Domain City. As for your objective, it's probably not the Ocean of Anarchy but the Central Territory, right? A monstrous genius." Xiangxia's eyelids twitched. She's truly intelligent. She was actually able to guess my origins and destination. She isn't inferior to Xianxia at all. 8th-level sword intent and the ability to defeat an Exalt Realm expert while at the Spirit Realm. There's only a single person capable of that in the entire Southern Territory, and that's the Sword Emperor. "You should be the Sword Emperor Xianxia, right?" said Ding Xiaoyao. "Sometimes, being too smart isn't always a good thing." Xiangxia's eyes narrowed slightly, because she was too smart, and it even made him feel slightly fearful. Ding Xiaoyao grinned and said, "We should be able to become friends because we have a common enemy." "A common enemy?" Xianxia frowned. Ding Xiaoyao walked over slowly to Xianxia and said, "I've investigated you, and I have some knowledge about you. If I'm not wrong, you're probably heading to the Central Territory to stop Luo Jun from obtaining the world portrait, right?" A ray of light flashed before Void Flash was pressed against Ding Xiaoyao's neck. However, the latter revealed no fear at all. Conversely, she was still smiling. However, her countenance was too pale, so this smile seemed to be quite strange. "You've investigated me? Young Miss Ding, I don't think I know you, right?" Xianxia felt a trace of danger from her. It was slightly funny because a light flick of his sword could remove her head from her neck. However, he'd aroused a feeling of fear towards her within the depths of his heart. "Must you insist on talking to me like this?" Ding Xiaoyao gazed at Xianxia as if she was talking to a friend, and her voice was very calm. Xianxia took a deep glance at her, and then he put Void Flash away. He said, "Young Miss Ding, can you answer my question now? Don't tell me that my reputation has spread to the Ocean of Anarchy. Since the mortal emperor severed the barrier between the Southern Territory and Central Territory, I headed to the Southern Territory out of curiosity. Once I got there, all sorts of rumors about you were being spread throughout the Southern Territory, and it aroused my curiosity. So, I utilized my connections to obtain information about young Master Yang. But I never expected that I would meet you in person today," said Ding Xiaoyao. "Then how did you find out that I intend to head to the Central Territory to stop Luo Jun?" asked Xianxia in a low voice. "Because I've investigated Luo Jun as well," Ding Xiaoyao said. "The mortal emperor needs the world portrait in order to conquer the Southern Territory. Because the world portrait would allow him to speed up his conquest of the human world. So, since young Master Yang is his enemy, then you would naturally intend to stop him from obtaining the world portrait. Now, young Master Yang has appeared here and intends to head to the Ocean of Anarchy. So," Ding Xiaoyao grinned when she spoke up to this point, and she didn't continue. Xianxia fell silent for a moment before he said, "Young Miss Ding, you said that we have a common enemy. What did you mean? Let's head to Still Ridge and talk about it. Because it won't be long before the members of the Sky Devil Sect arrive here." "All right," Ding Xiaoyao smiled. Xianxia said, "Young Miss Ding, didn't you hear what Medusa said? There are exalt rank dark beasts on Still Ridge. Why would I need to fear them when I have young Master Yang by my side? Ding Xiaohao blinked at him. Yang Yi was speechless. 3 middle-aged men and Medusa arrived there not long after Yang Yi and Ding Xiaoyao left. They're gone. The middle-aged man in the lead glanced at the surroundings, and then he gazed at Medusa and said, "Did he really possess 8th level sword intent and utilized a Dao artifact? Big brother, would I lie to you?" Medusa was slightly displeased that the middle-aged man doubted her. The middle-aged man spoke with a solemn expression on his face. "Then it should be him. He's probably the Sword Emperor of the Southern Territory. Only he has comprehended 8th level sword intent throughout the Southern Territory and possessed the unfettered one sword from all those years ago, Void Flash. I never expected that he would come to the Ocean of Anarchy. I wonder why the Sect Master asked us to pay attention to his whereabouts. Alas, the Sect Master is cultivating behind closed doors right now. Otherwise, we would be able to figure all of it out immediately. Big brother, what should we do now?" asked Medusa. "Return to the Sect and wait for the Sect Master to emerge from his closed-door cultivation. Alas, it's quite a pity. If we were able to capture Ding Yuan's daughter, then we would definitely be able to make him hesitate from taking any action. Now that we don't have Ding Xiaoyao as a hostage, we've lost our qualifications to negotiate with him. With the strength and pride of the Ding clan, they'll definitely retaliate against us. So, we must return to the Sect as soon as possible and wait for the Sect Master," said the middle-aged man in a low voice. The others didn't object to this. Even though Medusa was slightly unwilling, she didn't object to it as well. She immediately nodded and vanished on the spot with the 3 middle-aged men. Still Ridge. A bright moon hung high above in the sky and showered down faint rains of silver radiance that covered Still Ridge in a light silver veil. A campfire was burning at an open space on the ridge, and it illuminated Yang Yi and Ding Xiaoyao's faces to the point it seemed slightly red. "Young Master Yang, you didn't choose to travel on your sword and have chosen to walk instead. I presume it's to avoid someone, right?" said Ding Xiaoyao. "You should answer my question first. Why did you say that we have a common enemy? Could it be that your Ding clan has enmity with Luo Jun as well?" asked Yang Yi. She was too intelligent to the point he felt slightly embarrassed of his inferiority. Why? Because he felt like he had no secrets before her. Ding Xiaoyao grinned and said, "There are countless powers in the Ocean of Anarchy, and the Sky Devil Sect, Blue Wave Sect, Nebula Sect, and Divine Mystery Sect are the strongest amongst them, because they had numerous vassal islands and have Monarch Realm experts as their sect masters. However, the strongest power in the Ocean of Anarchy is my Ding clan. Because my Ding clan possesses 3 Monarch Realm experts and holds control of 60% of all spirit veins within Ocean of Anarchy and possesses the most vessels as well. One can say that all of these sects have to consider the opinion of my Ding clan before they did anything in the Ocean of Anarchy. However, my Ding clan didn't act ruthlessly, and we allowed them to freely utilize the rest of the islands and spirit veins throughout the Ocean of Anarchy. That's exactly why my Ding clan has got along with those sects throughout the last 100 years, and this peace was only destroyed when the mortal emperor appeared." "Luo Jun has started his conquest of the Ocean of Anarchy?" asked Yang Yi in a low voice. Ding Xiaoyao nodded and said, "After he destroyed the barrier, the first thing he did was pay a visit to my Ding clan. He hoped that my Ding clan would support him, and he even provided abundant benefits for it. But my Ding clan refused it in the end." "Why?" Yang Yi was puzzled. "The mortal emperor's rise is imminent, and he has the support of the exalted Han Empire and some extraordinary clans. It doesn't seem like your Ding clan has a reason to refuse him, right?" "It was because of a single person," Ding Xiaoyao said. "My Ding clan owes him a huge debt. He said that my Ding clan would definitely suffer a calamity of destruction if it were to side with Luo Jun. So it couldn't be helped. My Ding clan had no choice but to refuse Luo Jun." "You refused just because of a single person?" Yang Yi was astounded. Ding Xiaohao glanced at Yang Yi and said, "He is no ordinary person. Young Master Yang, you've probably heard of Xiao Tianji, right?" The corners of Yang Ye's mouth twitched. After all, how could he have possibly not heard of Xiao Tianji's name? That was his father-in-law. You're telling me that Xiao... Oh, Mr. Xiao told your Ding clan not to side with Luo Jun? Asked Yang Yi. Ding Xiaoyao nodded and said, who else other than him is capable of making my Ding clan decide to fight against the current flow of the situation with just a few words? Luo Jun didn't attack my Ding clan when we refused him that day, and he just asked my Ding clan to give it more consideration. But now it would seem like he'd actually started acting against my Ding clan some time ago. If I'm not wrong, the Sky Devil sect and the other sects have probably sided with Luo Jun otherwise. They wouldn't dare act against my Ding clan no matter how brave they are. When he listened up to this point, Yang Yi could be said to have come to an understanding. At the same time, his heart felt slightly warm because Xiao Tianji was clearly helping him when Xiao Tianji spoke those words. Otherwise, it would have been very likely that the Ding clan sided with Luo Jun. If the Ding clan really sided with Luo Jun, then not to mention stopping Luo Jun, even traveling to the Central Territory would be a problem for him with the forces that the Ding clan possessed throughout the Ocean of Anarchy. Ding Xiaoyao spoke abruptly. I presume you don't want the Ocean of Anarchy to fall into Luo Jun's hands, right? Yang Yi said, it should probably not be difficult for your Ding clan to annihilate those powers with the strength it possesses, right? It's not difficult indeed. However, it would be impossible to say for sure if Luo Jun secretly assisted them, said Ding Xiaoyao. That's your clan's problem. Yang Yi shook his head. He understood her intentions, and she intended to drag him down into her problems. If it was at any other time, then he wouldn't mind helping the Ding clan since he would have an opportunity to spoil things for Luo Jun. Yet now, the world portrait was still the most important thing to him. Once Luo Jun were to obtain the world portrait, then it would be meaningless even if he'd helped the Ding clan subdue the Ocean of Anarchy because Luo Jun could retake it at any time. Moreover, while he was sworn enemies with Luo Jun, he didn't want to be used by someone else. Young Master Yang, aren't you afraid that my Ding clan would side with Luo Jun? Asked Ding Xiaoyao. Yang Yi chuckled and said, of course I am, but so what? Could it be that I should allow myself to be used by the Ding clan just because I'm afraid it would side with Luo Jun? Miss Ding, you're a very smart person, and you're very good at discerning a person's thoughts. I really admire that ability of yours. However, it doesn't mean that you have me in the palm of your hand just because you've discerned my thoughts. If you Ding clan wants to side with Luo Jun, then please feel free to go ahead. Young Master Yang really is as the rumors said. You really do act willfully, said Ding Xiaoyao in a soft voice. Roar. Right at this moment, a wave of furious roars suddenly resounded from far away in the distance, and then the entire ground started trembling violently as if it was about to split apart. It's my Ding clan's savage bear. The experts of my Ding clan have arrived. Ding Xiaohao spoke softly. However, a wisp of a solemn expression had flashed through her eyes. A hill-sized black bear stood before Yang Yi and Ding Xiaoyao. It was truly too big to the point that the two of them couldn't even compare to the size of its foot. An old man and a young man leaped down from the black bear, and a wisp of a ghastly expression flashed through their eyes upon laying eyes on Ding Xiaoyao, whereas Ding Xiaoyao's face sank a little when she saw them. The old man quickly revealed a smile and said, Xiaoyao, it's great that you're fine. The two of us were really too worried. Humph. Those fellows from the Sky Devil sect are truly audacious. They actually dared to target you. Don't worry. Second uncle will definitely help you vent later. Who's he? The old man's gaze descended onto Yang Yi as he finished speaking. He's a friend, a maid in the Southern Territory. Ding Xiaoyao spoke indifferently and said, Second uncle? Where's my father? The old man withdrew his gaze from Yang Yi and sighed lightly. Your father fell into an ambush the Sky Devil sect set while trying to rush to your rescue, and he's heavily injured and unconscious right now. Right, second uncle is standing in as patriarch of the clan for now. Alright, let's just return to the clan first. Don't worry. No one can harm you while second uncle is here. Ding Xiaoyao clenched her fist tightly when she heard the old man, and then she glanced at him and fell silent for a while before she said, Second uncle, I thought that you wouldn't do something as stupid as colluding with outsiders even if you wanted to seize the position of patriarch. But I thought too highly of your intelligence in the end. You actually dared to go against the words of our ancestors just for the sake of seizing the position of patriarch, and you secretly colluded with outsiders to take control of my Ding clan. Aren't you afraid that Ancestor will bind your soul in Sunray Cave and keep you from reincarnation for eternity? Ding Xiaoyao. What's the meaning of that? The face of the young man by the old man's side sank, and he spoke ragefully. The old man waved his hand and said, Xiaoyao, you're still that intelligent. I never thought about concealing it from you. So, will you be obedient and leave with second uncle, or should I kill you? Truthfully speaking, I don't want to kill you because I need you to take care of most of the clan's businesses. But it can't be helped because you just had to expose everything. Alas, why can't you act dumb for once? How's my father? Asked Ding Xiaoyao in a flat voice. Don't worry, he'll live. I never expected that he would actually be able to hold on until he returned to the clan. I underestimated him a little. I can't do anything to him now that he has returned to the clan. However, whether he can wake up or not is another thing. Ha ha! The old man started laughing with slight delight. Father, what about this guy? Meanwhile, the young man suddenly spoke from the side. The old man glanced indifferently at Yang Yi and said, Since he heard something he shouldn't have heard, then just kill him. A ray of light flashed, and then a head flew into the air. It was naturally not Yang Ye's head. Yang Ye's figure flashed as he grabbed Ding Xiaoyao in his arms and vanished on the spot. At this moment, he felt extremely aggrieved because he was sure that this woman knew that he would attack and save her. Truthfully speaking, he really hated being schemed against, but it couldn't be helped because he had to save her. Their conversation told him that if he didn't save her, then this Ding clan of theirs would really fall into the old man's hands. The old man was clearly colluding with the Skydevil sect and the other sects in the Ocean of Anarchy, so it was even to the extent that the old man might have sided with Luo Jun by now. So, he had to rescue her. Otherwise, the Ding clan would immediately fall into Luo Jun's hands once the old man succeeded in seizing control over the Ding clan. Yang Yi felt that this woman in his arms might have said all of those things on purpose so that he would be aware of the current situation that the Ding clan was in. How scheming of her! Yang Yi felt slightly fearful. The old man stared blankly at the young man's corpse for a while, and then his eyes suddenly turned crimson red once he returned to his senses. After that, a roar that sounded like the roar of a wild beast erupted from him. Little bitch! Bastard! Ding Xiang, swear that I'll kill both of you. Ah! Yang Yi shook his head when he heard this furious roar from over 50 kilometers away, and then he lowered his head to gaze at the woman in his arms. Are you feeling very proud of yourself now? Aren't you able to kill Exalt Realm experts? Why are you running? Asked Ding Xiaoyao. The corners of Yang Ye's mouth twitched, and then he stretched out his hand and slapped her on the butt while he said angrily, He's a 5th rank Exalt Realm expert, and he even has an Exalt rank Dark Beast by his side. What about me? I'm only at the 2nd rank of the Spirit Realm. Do I look like I'm invincible? What are you glaring at me for? I'll leave you behind in this desolate mountain. Ding Xiaoyao glared angrily at Yang Yi while her chest rose and fell rapidly. Obviously, Yang Ye's slap on her but had infuriated her. Yang Ye's expression changed, and he said, That was quick. Stop glaring at me. Aren't you very smart? Quickly think of a way to get out of this predicament, otherwise you might really die here. Let me be frank with you in advance. If push comes to shove, I'll leave you behind and flee myself. Ding Xiaoyao just continued glaring furiously at Yang Yi without speaking a single word. Yang Yi was slightly speechless, and he felt that she was as stubborn as Xiao Yushi. Do you want to rescue your father or not? Yang Yi said, I'm 80% confident in my ability to escape if I leave you here. How confident are you in your ability to escape if you get left here? If you don't even have 10% confidence, then quickly think of a way out of this. Ding Xiaoyao's expression eased up a little when she heard Yang Yi, and then she fell silent for a moment before she said, Kill him. It's the easiest and most direct method. The corners of Yang Ye's mouth twitched violently as he said, Will you do it? If you kill him, then I represent the Ding clan to promise you that my Ding clan will ally itself with the Grand Qin Empire and Dark Beast Empire against Luo Jun. If we become allies, then unless Luo Jun obtains the world portrait, otherwise ordinary troops from the exalted Han Empire would be unable to travel to the Southern Territory because all the military vessels in the Ocean of Anarchy are under my Ding clan's control," said Ding Xiaoyao. "How am I to trust you?" Yang Yi was slightly tempted because if she was telling the truth, then it would undoubtedly put an end to Luo Jun's ability to gain any reinforcements in the Southern Territory, and it was impossible for Luo Jun to conquer the entire Southern Territory with just the Soul Eater Corps. However, he didn't really trust her because she was too smart, and she might stab him in the back if he was careless in the slightest. "Luo Jun has acted against my Ding clan and almost killed both my father and I. Do you think it's possible for my Ding clan to side with him if my father maintains control over the clan?" said Ding Xiaoyao. "That isn't enough. I'll give you one final chance. If you still can't convince me, then I'm sorry. I'll have no choice but to leave you here." Yang Yi was willing to save her, but he wasn't willing to be used by her. So, he refused to believe her if she wasn't able to truly display her sincerity. "Then tell me how I should make you trust me, or perhaps what I should do to earn your trust," said Ding Xiaoyao. Yang Yi was speechless. "Bastard! Give me back my son." Right at this moment, a wave of intense fluctuation arose in the space behind Yang Yi, and then Ding Xiang appeared over 50 m behind Yang Yi with a ferocious expression on his face. A large axe tore through the air, and it formed a ray of light as it slashed down forcefully at Yang Yi. Everywhere it passed, space was torn apart when numerous long and pitch-black rifts appeared in the air. Yang Ye's pupils constricted. That old geezer's strength is actually so formidable. An expert of such level wasn't someone he could go against right now unless he utilized that secret technique to rise into the Exalt realm. However, he would naturally not utilize it because it exhausted his vitality and potential. The large axe was too swift and had locked onto Yang Ye's aura, so he couldn't evade it at all. A wisp of a fierce expression flashed through his eyes as Dragonbone appeared in his grasp, and then the profound energy within his body instantly surged into Dragonbone before he shouted and performed a downward slash. Clang! An enormous explosion resounded through the surroundings. As soon as Dragonbone had just come into contact with the large axe, an enormous force came from Dragonbone and caused his entire left arm to tremble violently. After that, both Yang Yi and Ding Xiaoyao, who he still held in his arm, was blasted flying by the enormous force, and they flew for over 1 kilometer before they were finally able to stop. Cough! Yang Yi wiped off the bloodstain on the corner of his mouth, and then he raised his head to gaze at the old man with a solemn expression. Even though he'd killed 5th-rank Exalt Realm experts and even 9th-rank Exalt Realm experts, that was under the circumstances that he'd relied on that secret technique to rise into the Exalt Realm. After all, the might of his Sword Intent, Void Flash, and Sword Domain were multiplied numerous times when he attained the Exalt Realm. Moreover, he even grasped a little spatial energy. That was exactly why he was able to kill Exalt Realm experts at the 5th rank of the Exalt Realm and above. In the past, he thought that even if he still wasn't at the Exalt Realm, he should still be able to go against 5th-rank Exalt Realm experts. But he noticed now that he was wrong. He was utterly unable to go against experts at the 5th rank of the Exalt Realm and above with his current strength. "I have to work hard on improving my cultivation," Yang Yi spoke softly in his heart. Just as Elder Mu had said, his cultivation was his foundation. If his cultivation didn't improve, then he would be unable to fully bring forth the might of his Sword Intent, Sword Domain, and the Tao artifacts he possessed. So, improving his cultivation was a pressing task at hand. A wisp of astonishment flashed through Ding Xiang's eyes when he saw Yang Yi resist his attack. Even though he hadn't utilized his full strength just now, he'd used 70% of it. But an ant at the 2nd rank of the Spirit Realm had stopped an attack of his that carried 70% of his strength. But in next to no time, Ding Xiang's eyes were covered in a ferocious expression. No matter what his background is, he's going to die today. After all, that was his one and only son. However, just a moment of carelessness had cost him his son, and it had even occurred right before his eyes. Ding Xiang simply desired to destroy the world when he thought of this. "Bastard! And you bitch! I'm going to make living worse than death for the both of you," Ding Xiang shouted furiously as his figure flashed and instantly arrived before Yang Yi. The large axe in his hand left a long trail of light behind it and carried terrifying force and pressure as it chopped down forcefully towards Yang Yi and Ding Xiaoyao. As it descended, countless axe images instantly flashed into appearance and enveloped an area of 600 m around Yang Yi and Ding Xiaoyao. The terrifying pressure emanated by the large axe caused the ground beneath their feet to collapse and reveal an enormous pit that was over 300 m in diameter. This time, Ding Xiang hadn't held back, and he'd used his full strength. The corners of Yang Ye's mouth twitched when he sensed the terrifying strength contained within the large axe. This damnable geezer is going all out. Yang Yi didn't choose to block it with Dragonbone because he was very well aware that even if his physical body was comparable to an Exalt Realm expert, his arm would definitely be blasted apart if he blocked it with Dragonbone. Yang Yi couldn't help but feel slightly speechless when he thought about how he'd just been discussing how to kill Ding Xiang with Ding Xiaoyao. At this moment, they should be thinking about how to escape him instead of killing him. Yang Yi took a deep breath and spoke in his heart. Sword Domain. As soon as those words resounded in his heart, time seemed as if it had been stopped. The axe images in an area of 30 m around Yang Yi had been instantly frozen on the spot, whereas Ding Xiang's axe wasn't able to descend any more upon arriving around 50 centimeters above Yang Ye's head. Yang Ye's countenance suddenly turned pale, and he stopped for an instant before he shouted. Shattered! As soon as he spoke, the countless axe images instantly dispersed into the air. Ding Xiang's expression changed violently, and he held his axe in his grasp as he flashed backward by over 300 m. He gazed at Yang Yi as he spoke with astonishment. Sword Domain. It was the Sword Domain. Who exactly are you? Bang! The ninth Hell Sword Wings appeared behind Yang Yi, and then they flapped before Yang Yi vanished beneath the night sky. Only an idiot would answer that old geezer right now. In Yang Ye's opinion, fleeing was the most important matter at hand. He didn't waste his strength to attack Ding Xiang with Void Flash because he couldn't kill Ding Xiang even if he used Void Flash. Unless he took Ding Xiang by surprise. Otherwise, it would only be a waste of profound energy. The Sword Domain. The Sword Domain. How could that be possible? He's only around the age of 20, so how could he have comprehended Sword Domain? Ding Xiang stood on the spot while his eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. He said, I heard that a Sword Emperor appeared in the Southern Territory. It seems like that Sword Emperor possesses the enlightened Sword Heart and has comprehended both Sword Intent and Sword Domain. Could that have been him? In next to no time, a ferocious expression covered Ding Xiang's face again, and he said, No matter if you're the Sword Emperor or the Martial God, I'm going to burn your bones and scatter your ashes today. As soon as he finished speaking, Ding Xiang's figure flashed and chased after Yang Yi. I never imagined that someone in this world would actually be able to go against Exalt Realm experts while at the Spirit Realm. As Yang Yi fled swiftly, Ding Xiaoyao gazed at Yang Yi while she rested in his arms and spoke softly. He's very strong, and he didn't utilize the energy of space. Otherwise, I might have really left you. Yang Yi said, You've seen the situation we're in. Killing him is impossible. So, think of a way to get out of this. Otherwise, we might be pursued by that geezer forever. Ding Xiaoyao remained silent for a moment before she said, Head to the Ding clan. Even though he's acting as the patriarch of the Ding clan right now, he wouldn't dare act against me in the open. He'll have to hold back from acting against us if we return to the Ding clan. We can think about how to deal with him then. However, you have to speed up. Otherwise, he might catch up to us before we leave Still Ridge. We can't head to the Ocean of Anarchy like this. Yang Yi shook his head. Why? Ding Xiaoyao was puzzled. There are 3 fellows waiting for me at the Ocean of Anarchy. Every single one of them isn't inferior to that old geezer, understand? Said Yang Yi. Luo Jun sent them for you? Asked Ding Xiaoyao. Good guess. Yang Yi said, If we head to the Ocean of Anarchy on my sword like this, then those 3 geezers will definitely be able to notice me. At that time, we would truly be finished. So, think of another way out. There's no other way. Ding Xiaoyao said, There are only 2 paths now. The first is to kill Ding Xiang, and the second is to let him kill us. Don't even think of working together or making compromise with him. You killed his only son, so he wouldn't spare you even if you're Luo Jun. So, Sword Emperor, reveal your full strength and kill him. Why are you so sure that I'm definitely able to kill him? Yang Yi lowered his head to gaze at her, and he was truly quite curious, because she seemed to be very confident in him, and she seemed even more confident than he was. If just a single 5th rank Exalt Realm Profounder could kill you, then it would be impossible for you to have survived until now, and Luo Jun wouldn't dispatch 3 experts at the 5th rank of the Exalt Realm or above to deal with you. The reason you aren't killing Ding Xiang is none other than because of 2 things. Firstly, you don't want to pay some sort of price and don't want to expose some trump cards of yours. Simply speaking, you don't trust me, right? Said Ding Xiaoyao. Yang Yi took a deep glance at her and said, I hope you remember your promise. Otherwise, I can guarantee that no matter how monstrously intelligent you are, I'll still be able to kill you. Ding Xiaohao revealed a slight grin on her pale face, and then she said, Do it a little lighter. Yang Ye's eyelids twitched, and then he laughed bitterly. She really is too intelligent. I wonder if working together with such a person is fortune or misfortune for me. Yang Yi stopped thinking about that. He stretched out his hand to the back of Ding Xiaoyao's head, and then she struck it lightly, causing the latter's eyes to instantly close slowly. Yang Ye's figure flashed to the ground, and then he placed Ding Xiaoyao at the side. He'd just put her down when Ding Xiang appeared behind him. A wisp of bewilderment flashed through Ding Xiang's eyes when he saw that Yang Yi was actually not running anymore. He said, What? Aren't you going to continue running? Are you prepared to give your life away? Since Yang Yi had stopped running, then there was definitely a reason. So, Ding Xiang didn't dare act carelessly and thus didn't attack at the first possible moment. Yang Yi turned around to gaze at Ding Xiang, and then he shook his head and said, You just had to knock at death's door. Wasn't it just your son? You seem to be full of energy. Wouldn't it be easier to just have another one? Is it even necessary to pursue me constantly and insist on killing me? I look down on you for being so narrow-minded. Bastard. That was my only son. You kill my only son. I swear that I'll kill you today. Ding Xiang held the large axe in his hand as he flashed forward, and he left an afterimage behind as he shot explosively towards Yang Yi. Yang Ye's eyes narrowed a little when Ding Xiang arrived before him, and then he swiftly stomped his right foot on the ground and roared furiously. Sword domain. As soon as he spoke, Ding Xiang's figure stiffened for a moment, and his speed descended by a few times. Ding Xiang's expression changed. He naturally didn't dare underestimate the sword domain, so the profound energy within him surged violently as he flicked his wrist, and countless rays of light shot out violently from his axe. However, these rays of light had been instantly dispersed into nothingness by the mysterious force in the surroundings. A wisp of a ferocious expression flashed through Ding Xiang's eyes, and he was just about to attack. However, right at this moment, 3 black-clothed figures suddenly appeared here. Ding Xiang was horrified when he saw them because he noticed that all 3 of them were actually Exalt Realm experts. The 3 of them flashed like bolts of lightning towards Ding Xiang, and it caused his expression to change drastically before his figure flashed away. However, it was a bit too late, and Hong's dagger had left a long bloody gash on Ding Xiang's chest. Ding Xiang stood in midair as he gazed at Yang Yi as if he were looking at a monster. He said, 3 Exalt Realm experts. No, impossible. How did they appear here? Wait, that's not right. They aren't alive. You are actually able to control Exalt Realm experts as puppets. How did you accomplish that? Go to hell and ask your son. Yang Yi issued a command in his heart, and then a strand of dazzling light erupted from the blue sword chest on his back, and then 4 swords immediately appeared around Ding Xiang. In the next moment, the 4 swords spun swiftly, and then countless rays of light instantly enveloped the space around Ding Xiang. After that, Ding Xiang's shrill and miserable cry suddenly resounded within the area enveloped by the rays of light created by those swords. Yang Yi instantly heaved a sigh of relief when he heard that shrill cry. However, right at this moment, An unexpected event occurred because a figure had suddenly flashed out from within the light, and it was exactly Ding Xiang. At this moment, Ding Xiang's entire body was densely covered in injuries and blood, and he seemed extremely miserable. After he fled the sword formation, Ding Xiang didn't even spare Yang Yi a glance before he tore space open and flashed towards the distance. Yang Ye's face that was ghastly pale from overusing his strength had changed when he witnessed this scene.